Welcome everyone to the first episode of Let's Hash It Out, where we gather people across our Hoffman APAC offices and share our views on industry matters. So today we are spotlighting colleagues from our Singapore office. But first up, let me introduce myself. I'm Brenda. And co-hosting this with me is Kim. And our two guests, Rohit and Bernice, who we totally did not coerce to join us on this episode. So say hi everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
The topic for today will be how brands can leverage occasions for marketing activities. Maybe something to kick off is that we know that International Women's Day just passed, and there were a lot of campaigns and ads in Singapore. I think one thing that I particularly liked was what Adidas did for International Women's Day. They ran a lot of ads along the Dhoby Ghaut MRT station, and then they did a play on the words impossible to become I'm possible, and the letter M is actually their Adidas logo. So I think we will sort of like put it here. I think when we edit, we will put it inside lah. But yeah, I mean, just to kick things off, have you guys seen any campaigns that you liked around IWD this year?
I guess I can share first. I think something that I saw this year done by a local small company. I think they're called Get Blood. So basically they do a lot of period products, and then like before IWD, they kind of had basically an entire campaign about period positivity in the workplace. So I think IWD was another platform for them to further emphasize like their campaign, and then they started telling people like, because of IWD, if any purchases are being bought on their website, they actually would donate some of their products, I think 1-for-1, of their products to a NGO in Bali for women that are trying to upskill. Because if you think about it, period doesn't stop for women, right, when they're in the workplace. So I think it was a really meaningful message, like a company that really wants to do something, and I think it's very consistent messaging even when it's during International Women's Day. Something that really caught my eye.
Yeah, I really like that. I think it's like we hardly talk about things that we experience as women, I think. But here I know that we are quite open saying that, oh no, today we are going to work from home because we have like bad cramps. So like that's still like, acceptable here, which I'm very thankful for. What about yourself, Rohit?
IWD, I've been seeing a lot of campaigns recently, but besides IWD, I find there's so many other events that I've been seeing. Recently, I saw something on Valentine's Day. It was by McDonald's. What they did was they kind of had a very close image of the person eating the burger, but the burger was positioned as like a lips, so it was very interesting. It's just McDonald's, it's just a fast food company. Like, how can they be relevant to Valentine's Day, right? But they made it a point to like show that their burger is fitting enough to be your date, for example. So I really like that. Yeah.
I think McDonald's have really good ads. This I think was like about 2 years ago. I saw a really nice Hari Raya ad done by McDonald's where they feature a day in the life of a McDonald's. Yeah, it was so nice. Yeah, because it was such a good ad, right? Then you remember as well. I think basically they show in a day in the life and they tap on a local activity that's very close to a lot of people's hearts, right? And basically he start work from very early in the morning where he eat before he goes fasting, and then along the way you see him doing a lot of good deeds and helping people and really delivering food, and although he's really tired but he just continues to do so. And then when he did his last delivery at about 7 p.m. where people will start to break fast, one of the person that he delivered food to actually offered him food instead, and because he realized like, oh, actually it's time to break fast and appreciate him for all his hard work. And I think that was a really touching and very relevant ad that I think went viral as well, and Kim said she remembered also, right? And I think they tried to insert in like a racial harmony kind of scene at the end because it was a Chinese person, if I'm not wrong, offering right, food like to the delivery person. So I just when Rohit talked about Max, I just suddenly thought of the ad because they really have very nice ads that tag onto events and occasions.
I think that their advertising is always they try to take like an emotional angle to it. Always like family, friends, spending time with each other. So I think like Hari Raya is like a very natural event for them to like latch on lah. But honestly, like there are so many occasions in a year, right? And like brands have to try and like catch each date. So like, why do you think that, like they put in so much effort, because like before you plan, like Hari Raya is now, then when you do it for Hari Raya, they're already seeing like so far ahead in the calendar. So like a lot of time, effort, and like resources goes into it lah. But like, why do brands think that it's worth it? Yeah, no, as in like, I think like one, obviously like the reason is like Hari Raya, right? We want to cater or like to target like a specific audience. I mean, it doesn't just have to be like delivery riders or like people celebrating Hari Raya, because you see like the fact that we remember it even though we don't celebrate Hari Raya proves that it's effective. And I think it's really about being relatable to your audience lah. But there's of course like 101 other reasons. So like maybe you all have some insight into why our clients, for example, also want to like latch on to events.
I think like some events are very personal to others. So like when they see this kind of ads, they feel like appreciated. You know, like this brand cares for them and their rituals or their festivals, etc. So I think it's a good way for brands to like establish a connection with the audience, like through these events lah. And I think not just customers, but I feel like, okay, I've been seeing like for IWD, going back to IWD, right? I've seen some brands actually like kind of show their employees in a good light, you know, saying that my employees are this and that. So I think it has kind of establishes a good connection even to your employees. They will feel more loyal to the company. They're like, oh, I'm featured in this. I'm an important member of the organization. So I think not only customers, even employees can feel appreciated with this kind of event occasions leverage.
I think it's really, I think what Kim and Rohit said, I totally agree as well, right? Definitely being relatable to your audience and a lot of engagement with them, like through these kind of ads. I think, oh my God, I kind of suddenly lost my point. But I think what I want to say is that knowing what your consumers, your audiences are talking about, and then trying to be a part of it so that they will feel like you're putting in effort to really understand what they want, what they need. And then through these ads, you can show and tell very obviously they understand, you know, such things. I think something interesting that I recall also a while back, I think TikTok got famous 2 years ago, I think. And then April Fools happened. And then NAFA basically put out a social media post that said that NAFA was going to open a course about TikTok 101 or something along those lines. And I think it was really relevant, and basically you were jumping on the trend, right? A lot of students were really excited and started to look up on NAFA and stuff like that. But of course, a moment later, they realized it was an April Fool's joke lah. And then they were a bit disappointed. But then you kind of see how they actually tap into the current conversations and try to be relevant. And then from there, they can actually show their readers, consumers, or people that they understand their customers and they're able to, you know, give something that they appreciate. Not really well put together, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think we touched on 2 points, right? Which is connecting with audiences and then increasing relevance. And then also hopping on something that's really hot in the moment. So yeah, I think that when you trend jack, right, it's essentially you are putting yourself right in front of the consumer. Because for example, as a consumer, I'm celebrating Valentine's Day, I might be celebrating Ramadan, I might be celebrating Chinese New Year. And when I'm thinking, not say all I'm thinking lah, but then if a lot of what I'm thinking about is that particular occasion, having a brand come in and then latch onto the occasion immediately puts that brand in my view already. So I'm aware of that. So I guess the awareness part is also very important, especially for brands who are not that well known yet. Trend jacking is a very low, sort of low barrier to entry kind of awareness driver in a sense. Like those brands that are not well known, when they hop onto an event or occasion that is very widely talked about, immediately they are seen by many people already who are also celebrating this occasion. So yeah, I mean, now that, you know, we have established like all the different benefits for brands who are trend jacking around occasions, and as consultants, right, we actually suggest a lot of campaigns or a lot of little tactics around things like this. So what tips do you have for brands who don't know how to start or don't know where to even begin?
I think first and foremost is really being a part of the conversation. I think as much as it sounds cliche, we we really do advocate that, like doing a lot of on-ground research, because you don't want to come about as being deaf, right? Tone deaf, yeah, basically when you come up with your messaging and stuff like that. So if for brands that don't know what to do or how to match on the occasions, the first thing they must do is definitely be on ground and see what's the sentiment. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the first step.
I think also they have to kind of like, if they're first going into it, they got to start small, because you don't want to be that brand, that suddenly talks about this, having not talked about it forever. It's like, it sounds fake, so you need to have that kind of real, genuine messaging. So I think they should start small. Don't, fry bigger fish than they can. Just go for the basics first. And then once you develop that kind of connection with your customers, then you can slowly be more bold in your messaging and all. So yeah.
What about you, Kim?
I think like what Bern said just now about being on ground is like super important to not come across as tone deaf, because I mean there are a ton of like examples that we have seen that they think that it was like a really good idea and then they put it out there and then they get slammed for it. So I think like even recently with IWD, right, like you have like the A+ brands and then you have the brands that like completely like fell flat, and like I mean sure they increase awareness but maybe not in the way that they want. So I think like we were discussing in office, right, about that the European brand that did that high heels campaign, which was so strange because like I mean it was about
what did they achieve, right?
Yeah, what did they achieve? I mean, now I cannot even remember the brand, but I can remember that they did this failed campaign. I mean, that's not the result that they want, lah. Like, I mean, instead of celebrating women, they put like men wearing high heels on their social media. Is that really what you want to be associated with? And is that what your audience would appreciate? Like, I think that is important, to consider before like you come up with the messaging, lah. Yeah.
I think like Kim mentioned, I think very important is to think about the end result. What do you want people to take away from it, right? What's your messaging? Like, does it really relate to an action, or are you just there just to be part of like the entire hype? Like International Women's Day, the truth is there is a lot of brands, even like companies that are going out there to send out a message to say like, my employees are all very important, women as well, and how we should be inclusive and stuff like that. But then you can't just join the conversation just because everyone is a part of it, right? You need to see the end result. I think that's why that ad that we discussed in office is like such a good example. Like they just want to be part of the conversation, but what does it really say, right? Are you showing that you're doing action to really help move the needle for women's equality and equity rights, right? And like,
Brent had a very good line in office. She was just like, don't ask men to wear high heels, hire more women.
Hire more women who wear high heels. I mean, no, women don't need to conform to gender norms. Wear sneakers if you want. But I wanted to add on also, right? It's also to find occasions that are sort of relevant for your own brand. Like I think brands like Durex or like dating app brands, when they talk about Valentine's Day, it's very normal because it's all in the realm of like love and like intimacy, right? But if a software brand suddenly latches onto Valentine's Day, it's really weird lah. Like there's no link. But I think one that just came to mind that I thought did a really good job is actually my boxing studio. So on Valentine's Day, right, they did a little small witty and fun campaign where they help you to print your ex's face. And then they paste it on the punching bag, and then they say that, come here and work out and also like, move up, like let go of your past toxic relationships, right, and start afresh on Valentine's Day. So I thought that was quite clever, even though usually sports and love like us are kind of far apart in the conversation sense. So I thought it was a good example of how they actually latched onto Valentine's Day for this. Yeah.
Interesting.
Any examples? Like, do you see like people really print out their?
So it was an Insta story sort of thing. So they videoed their staff pasting a photo, but I think they used some celebrity photo lah. I think they didn't really the ex photo.
Maybe like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, too well, right? Yeah, so I thought it was quite funny lah. It was quite cheeky also. Yeah. So like what are some things that brands should avoid? I think we touched on that briefly just now when Kim talked about the company that got men to wear high heels, right? But what are some maybe specific things that brands should avoid when they are trend jacking?
I think race and a lot of like stereotypes that I think it's like highly sensitive now, and cancel culture. You never know when it's gonna happen. So like these kind of things, I mean, I wouldn't say avoid it, but be smart about it. Like I remember there was one campaign. I'm not sure who made it, but then they wanted an Indian to play, and then they painted his face brown. So and
I
that
think we all
caused a
know
lot of
which campaign it is, but
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
for purposes of this podcast, we will not mention, but we totally know what you're talking about.
yeah. So yeah, that was super insensitive. So I mean, yeah, like, just be smart about the topic that you choose. If it has to involve something, just be very politically correct about it.
Or actually, like, I guess involve, like, if you're going to use, for example, a minority person, or like your target audience is a minority group in Singapore or wherever you are in the world, right? Please do get like consultants that are a part of the minority race, and do like consult and get advice. Like sometimes, in my opinion, because we are Chinese is a majority race, right? Don't see we have a lot of blind spots, right? And we don't see why something is insensitive or could potentially be insensitive sometimes. And I mean, if you're going to your target audience is a minority group anyway, you should be consulting someone from the minority race, and not just create a campaign and thinking that, oh, this would definitely fit. Because how would we know best, right? That's why research, being in conversations, like, it's really, really important. And I think adding on to what like Rohit was saying, like, I totally agree as well, right? We need to be sensitive, very sensitive as well. I think there's a difference between like pushing boundaries that brands should always try to do, but it's different from like stepping on some of these boundaries and being super insensitive about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bern, you were saying about the consulting somebody, right? I think I saw recently Chinese New Year. The Guardian posted something like they thought it was like cute, like a nice picture, but it was actually something they use for funerals in
Yeah.
Yes.
Money, right?
Hell no,
yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
It was so bad.
That was ang pao money or something.
And to think that they got to pass by so many rounds of like to get approval to finally get the image out, and they still screw it up, So it's like what?
Oh my god, that is a damn good example. You're right. Like, it's so obvious that they didn't even ask a Chinese about it, or at least someone that's very connected and understands like the culture. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I think for me, right, would be to not jump on a trend just for the sake of it. Because I think take IWD for instance. There are a lot of brands going out with campaigns with like things that they want to say, with like LinkedIn posts and like changing profile picture. So I think sometimes as if I'm a brand on the brand side, right, I would understand feeling FOMO that everyone is doing it and why are we not doing anything. But with all this influx of like campaigns around trends and occasions, I think the regular consumer is also getting smarter. They know that it's a marketing ploy, and they'll start to question that, okay, you stand for IWD, right? What are the actionable steps that you've done? How many percentage of your board are women? So they start to question, and you don't want it to be a case where you don't have anything to substantiate. So I would say to not hop onto something just because everyone else is hopping on it, because it's a very crowded space. And yeah, the consumer is getting smarter, so they can tell when you're just doing it just for the engagement that you want to achieve.
Yeah. Actually, I totally agree with that, because I think, like you say, right, consumers are smarter, right? I mean, when we see advertisements, or like we see like IG or like social posts, then we always wonder, like, what are they doing? Like, what are they really doing? Because it's very easy to say that you stand for something, but actually, like, putting in like investment into like making a change, then that is really like putting like money where like your mouth is, because it's so easy. Like, we can say like, okay, women rights, or like we support LGBTQ. Like, let's change our profile pictures to like rainbows for like 1 month, and then so for 1 month you talk about it, you promote it, and then when this month is over, then everything goes back to normal. Then it's very like, incongruent, and I think consumers are like less forgiving lah. We'll probably be like, yeah, you say only, like you don't really like mean it. So I think that's like a very big trap in a way of like leveraging this events to appear relatable lah.
Yeah. Actually, late last year, I think there was a spin class in Singapore that I think they ran on their Instagram saying that join us for class this Saturday as we show our support to like healthcare heroes. Yeah, and then like there were a few comments from people saying that how are we showing support if we come for this class? Are you going to channel the fees into some healthcare hero fund or what are you doing essentially? I think that post was soon taken down, but I think it was an example of how like sometimes when you trend jack just for the sake of that trend, right? Consumers are smarter than we look like, and then we will definitely call brands out. And as you can see in the height of cancel culture, I think consumers are more than comfortable in calling brands out also.
Yeah. Actually, just jumping on something that Kim mentioned about brands changing their logos, for example, during LGBT month, right? Actually, not that as in it's not necessarily a bad thing because like Rohit said that brands can start small, right? Then that is considered starting small and showing your company's stance on whether you support a certain issue. But then like what I think everyone mentioned and agree on is that after you do that small action, right, it needs to have something, a follow-up, a bigger strategy, what happens next, right? So I may have changed my logo during this month, then what else are you doing to show that you are for it and to support your stance, or else it will just fall flat, right? Yeah, so yeah, I think that's just something I wanted to add on as well. Yeah.
So to end off on a lighter note, are there any occasions that you don't see a lot of brands participating in, and what are they? So for example, right, Monday, 14 March was Pi Day, because like 3.14, Pi Einstein. But basically, I think McDonald's did some promotion for like pies and all that. So like, are there any particular occasions that are sort of under tap right now?
I like one day, I saw, so it was for World Emoji Day. So I saw this company that all their social posts on that day were only like the captions were all in emoji, and I was trying to figure out like what are they trying to say. So you have to kind of like decode their message, and I thought that was a good way to like engage with the brand, and it got me thinking. And I think, if I'm not wrong, emojis are an official language now. So why not use it? So I think maybe more companies can use World Emoji Day to get more like thoughts and feelings towards it lah.
That's quite cute.
It's
I
a
think
low,
that's quite cute.
it's not a high budget sort of campaign, right? To do it. All you need is just one social media person to sit there and think of emojis to sort of put it out.
Exactly. And there's like so many emojis now. You can tell a whole story by just emojis,
Yeah.
It's quite cool.
Yeah, it's a modern day drawings on the cave walls.
Then Brenda, you were telling us about Mario Day that I never heard of.
No lah, because 10 March is like MAR10, so like Mario Day. And then we were saying that, since Mario is like Super Mario, right, always saving Princess Peach. So like if we had a bubble tea brand client, we would say like 10% off your peach tea lah, cause Mario saved Princess Peach on Mario Day. And then maybe thing. But I think sometimes we don't even have to like find days that existing. We can create days also. Like Shop recently created one, right? 315 is Consumer Day, and it's totally new. I don't think we go around wishing people, hey, happy Consumer Day, happy Consumer Day. But they created it, and then now it's just going to. I feel that it will come back again next year lah. So I think brands also can be bold to create a day that is, that they want to own, that has a very strong relevance to their own culture and branding also.
Like 11.
Yeah.
Correct.
11 started as something like a Singles Day,
I mean,
yeah.
like, so in addition to like Singles Day, what can we have? Friends Day. I'm sure there's a Friendship Day, right?
I'm pretty sure there's a Friendship Day.
Yeah, there's a Friendship Day also.
Actually, on that note of like being like the what's that word, like leading the forefront and creating your own events. I can't think of that word right at the moment, but I think it's also about maybe using a very well-used holiday and then changing the narrative. I think a lot of brands, what they did for Valentine's Day to flip it on its head is that it used to be all about couples, relationships, and whatnot. I think some brands have successfully used that day to tell another story, side of the story that it could be about friendship as well. I feel like I've seen an ad somewhere about this, but basically, or even using that opportunity to like ask people to find someone else to hang out with, for example. So really just changing the narrative of a day that on occasion that people already assigned a meaning to it and then change it to something interesting that still makes sense. I think that will
Make
catch a
it
lot of
more
eyeballs.
inclusive. Yeah, to make it more inclusive to everyone else and not just that specific audience, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think I saw some is like also like celebrating independence. Like who say you need to spend Valentine's Day with like a partner? Like why not
Yeah.
spend time with yourself?
Yeah, because you are your greatest lover, right? You invest in yourself, self-care, self-love. If you don't love yourself, who will love you?
Like why
Yeah.
spend money on somebody else when you can spend money on yourself?
Precisely.
That is true. Treat yourself to a good meal, right?
Buy yourself flowers, you can take yourself out to dinner on a movie. Like you don't need to wait for somebody to like come along and like do that. And actually like a lot of brands, I feel like brands have done that. Like I feel like
God.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure there are brands that, try to pivot, which is quite smart lah. Especially if you're the first brand to ever do that, then you'll get the most eyeballs.
Mm.
Actually, I think for April Fools, a lot of brands like every year they like to like release weird products, like
Correct.
weird stuff.
Yeah.
Then after that say
Yeah.
like nasi lemak ice cream or like God knows what. Then like after that they say that like oh yeah, it's April Fools. But I think like consumers now know already lah. Like in the week leading up to April Fools, every time like
Everyone's on high alert. High alert.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so April
That's-
Fools, I think like the Malaysia VTL is on 1st April, right? And then people are starting like, oh, sure now, 1st April, April Fools. Yeah. So consumers are definitely on the lookout on 1st April. They do not want to be bamboozled.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a wonderful time talking about this, and we have come to the end of our first episode. So yay! Like we have sort of like hashed it out. If we had more time, we could hash it out further. But this will be it for now. Yay! Thanks everyone. Okay, I think we can stop. Like,
Thank you.
yeah, we're not always on already. Okay, that's
this is
all,
fun.
folks. Bye bye.